I got a review key for Corsair Cove and finished the game before release, and let me tell you, this is not only a very solid city builder, it might also be one of the best pirate games I've ever played. Let me start with the most important thing, the gameplay. At its basic core, this is just another city builder. You need a woodcutter to get some logs, which then turn into planks. You do the same thing with things like stone and clothing, and of course you need to feed your pirates some stew and rum. Nothing really new there, but it's a solid formula that has worked for many games before, and it is executed well. Where it gets much more interesting though is how you build your city. You start on a very rough island with towering cliffs, and most of your buildings can actually be built directly on the walls. That means that while you start out at a very small and cute pirate base, soon your city will be a sprawling hive of rope ladders, zip lines and bridges across the water. That doesn't just make the logistics very interesting, it also makes for an extremely pleasing visual overview of your base. You're not just building yet another city, you're building a true pirate base. And that only gets better when you zoom in. All the base buildings are full of life, with pirates working, drinking and feasting all over the place, and some pretty decent music to go along with that. But where the game really takes off is when you make your first ship and you start exploring the high seas. This game has a very dense storyline where you will meet various characters that you can employ in your ship as captains and take out on an adventure across the oceans. There are many different ships to unlock, with each their own strengths, and each captain will add their own modifiers to that. You're going to need these modifiers to take on various challenges outside of your village. Now, these questlines are fully narrated, have interesting visuals to go along with that, and will go into pretty much every single pirate trope that exists. They range from smuggling rum to hunting famous creatures to trying to find the Fountain of Youth, and of course hunting down famous ships. These questlines are handled by events, which are turned into simple turn-based card games, where the cards you have access to while you're doing these events will depend on your ship and the captain, but also the strength of those cards is related to the statistics of your ship. That card game does get a little bit repetitive after a while, and it's not very hard either, but the nice visuals and the voice acting make sure it doesn't get boring too quickly. The quests that you are going to do aren't just there for the story, they will also provide you with various rewards that can range from gold or to building materials, but even skill points or new characters to unlock that you can then employ in your ships. Which brings me to the skill progression in this game, which is another very interesting mechanic. It is basically the equivalent of a technology tree as you would see in other games, but here it's directly tied to your actions in game rather than something you research over time. There are 4 categories of upgrades you can get, and each direction is tied to a specific theme, like wealth or exploration. Taking exploration as an example, you get points for completing quests that relate to exploration, of course, but also points for completing certain deeds in that category, like building more ships, exploring new lands, or following the story for one or more of the captains that are interested in anything that has to do with exploration. Other areas of interest might relate to increasing your production to a certain limit, making sure you have a lot of efficient logistics around your village, increasing the size of your village, and so on. So these are things you will quite naturally unlock while playing the game by just expanding your city and doing the obvious things, but it does pay off to take a closer look at the overview now and then to see what you can focus on next to unlock the next few points. This progression tree will allow you to unlock new buildings, and those will be unique depending on what direction of the progression tree you advance in. You're also going to unlock upgrades, but on top of that you're going to be unlocking new powerful ships as you gain more points. Now these ships then will be specifically suited for that type of activity. So let's say again you do some exploration, the new ships you will unlock will allow you to do more powerful, more difficult exploration events as a result of that. All in all, I found that a very nice and satisfying progression loop, and what's interesting is that you don't need to progress in all directions of the skill tree at the same time. You win the game by completing one of 4 main quest lines, and each of these quest lines is tied to a specific quarter of the progression tree. Many upgrades are unlocked as soon as you reach a new level of the progression tree, regardless of which direction you took to get there, so you don't need to do all of it to unlock the majority of the things in the game. Then of course, at the same time, each of the sections of the tree include unique buildings and upgrades, so it does pay off to do a little bit of everything if you're an optimizer and completionist like me. But focusing on one area in particular is a very viable and probably the fastest way to complete a run, ensuring that you have plenty of opportunity to play through the story mode again and change things up in your next run. Another reason to maybe focus on 1 or 2 sections of the progression tree during a particular run is that equipping your ships with more sailors becomes increasingly difficult for the higher ranked ships. Not only will you need more sailors just to man the ships, those sailors also require more high-end materials to keep them happy, which is of course why you need to keep expanding your pirate base to support all of that. Now, do that for all sections of the technology tree at the same time, and you're going to have to build a pretty impressive factory, or I should say village. If you're looking for a bit more of a sandbox experience, there's another game mode where you can just pick between different maps and starting locations for even more replayability, but the core mechanics just remain mostly the same. A couple of notes on the performance and other items. I did encounter a few bugs while playing the review version, so hopefully those will be fixed in the actual release. One bug was a tutorial message sticking on the screen permanently, and there were a few occasions where visual bugs occurred, although those were not really impactful on the gameplay altogether. The only game-related bug I encountered a few times was a building not functioning, while as far as I could tell it was connected to everything in my town correctly, but rebuilding that building seemed to fix the issue, so again, nothing game-breaking, but of course still annoying. The music in this game is great. The voiceovers are solid, even if they are a little bit stereotypical, but hey, it's a pirate game, so I can't really complain about that. All in all, I think this is a really fun game and a potential contender for City Builder of the Year, honestly, even though a lot of the mechanics aren't necessarily related to city building, or maybe that is why it's such a fun original game. I'll leave that up to you. Either way, this gets a very easy recommendation from my side, and let me know if you have any questions. Don't forget to like the video if you found this useful, and of course subscribe to the channel for more, because I will be making a couple of guides on this game as well as doing a full playthrough on the channel. As always, if you're still here, you are awesome, and I hope to catch you in the next one.